Vijay is currently a prof at University of California, Irvine. He's he's done really great work in several areas, and he was awarded the von Neumann Prize in 2022. I think it mentioned approximation algorithms, which was one of his early areas, and then game theory and economics, the more recent area. But going many, many years back, Vijay did some fantastic work during the first year of his PhD. He designed this, what is called the MV matching algorithm, which we'll hear about soon. It's been the fastest known for 40 or so years. And it was, the paper was published in Fox 1981. 1980, wow. And the proofs were missing, and there were no proof or disproof for 40 or so years, and we are going to hear advances there. So it'll be inspiring for first-year PhD students, I hope, to do some work which will stand the test of time for 40-odd years. Welcome.
Okay. One secret about first-year students, don't scare them. Okay. So, you can hear me, right?
We can hear you, but I think that it's for the recording. Yeah.
And it's on? It's working properly. Okay, good. Yeah. So yeah, it's really an honor to be here. After all, where would you go for combinatorial optimization and to show combinatorial optimization results? And thank you all for coming. Feel free to stop me any number of times. I'm happy to go over, and if you are happy to stay here, you know I have patience. So, I don't know how much background you would like me to cover. For instance, everybody knows the matching problem? Okay. Or you want me to recite these definitions? Maybe for posterity, because at some point people will stop being taught these things and all they would know is reinforcement learning because it's being recorded, but maybe not even for that. Okay, no, right, good. And oh, yeah, I might as well tell you a bit about why matching is so central to the theory of algorithms, because I have so many bullet points here. You may know of some, but not all. But it really is amazing how it leads to more and more fundamental insights for this theory. So Edmonds, who was here, gave the definition of polynomial time while studying matching. And Valiant gave the definition of Sharpe completeness while showing Sharpe completeness of 0-1 permanence, which is counting matchings. And in this paper, which was done when I was a postdoc of Les Valiant, we showed the polynomial time approximation of random generation and approximate counting. And this result sits at the core of what is today an entire area of Markov chain Monte Carlo methods. Just about all those algorithms use this result. These are central results in theory of algorithms, but even in game theory and economics, you'll see so much influence of matching on very big results, like the Gale-Shapley stable matching algorithm, which led to the formation of matching-based market design and eventually a Nobel Prize for for Shapley and Roth. And the Shapley-Shubik classic result on the core of the assignment game, which is like a paradigmatic setting for studying the core for many, many games. And then recently, online bipartite matching, which is a paradigmatic problem for another aspect of online matching, which deals with markets on the internet and mobile computing. So, okay, so there's a lot of reason to pay our homage to matching because of its beautiful structure, its very elegant combinatorics, its influence in all these fields. Okay, so I'm not going to harp on very basics unless you want me to. So everybody knows what an alternating path is. alternately matched and unmatched edges, and it's a central notion, as even Loas and Plummer point out in their book. And an augmenting path is an alternating path between two unmatched vertices. And the significance is that it has an odd number of edges, one more unmatched than matched. And if you flip matched and unmatched edges on any augmenting path, together with the rest of the matching, it still gives you a valid matching, which is of one higher size. And that's how matching algorithms go typically. Typically. There are other ones also based on linear algebra, but we are not going there. So you find an augmenting path, you start with the empty matching and always find an augmenting path with respect to the current matching, augment until there are no more augmenting paths, and there's a very easy way to show that then the matching must be. So yeah, when there are no more augmenting paths, we must have a maximum matching. It's very easy to show. So there are at most order n iterations because each time the size of the matching goes up by 1. And order m per iterations is easy, so we get an mn algorithm. But there are faster ones, and the faster ones deal with shortest augmenting paths. So if you find a shortest augmenting path, you didn't do that much work rather than a long path. But then when you find a short path, okay, let's look at the following schema. Instead of augmenting along any path, you augment along the shortest path. Then what happens is that your first path will be length 1, and then soon enough you'll start getting longer paths with respect to the current matching, always augment with respect to the current matching. And if you look at these paths of all of length 3 with respect to this matching, they are all vertex disjoint. So each one is an augmenting path with respect to m, right? And until the length goes up. So they are disjoint augmenting paths with respect to the matching at m. And because they are disjoint, you maybe can find all of them within order m time. And that was the hope. And that was the hope with which this scheme was defined in two papers at the same time, Hopcroft and Karp and Karzanov. And in a phase, they find a maximal set of disjoint augmenting paths. It doesn't have to be a maximum set. Why not? Because in the very first iteration, you'll get a maximum matching, which is too much to hope for. You have to solve the whole problem, right? So you don't want to do it that fast, because you would never do it. Okay, so find a maximal set of disjoint minimum length augmenting paths, augment, and then go to the next matching and do the same again. And it's not hard to show that only square root n phases are needed for that. Basically, after you've done square root n of these phases, the next augmenting paths with respect to the current matching, any augmenting path must be at least square root n long. So therefore, there cannot be more than square root n of these paths left. And even if they are of different lengths, found in different phases, you need only square root n more phases. So that's the proof of that. And these two papers gave order m per phase for bipartite graphs, so gave this complexity. And basically, each edge is examined a constant number of times, and that's why you get this running time, order m per phase. And they left this open problem, at least Hopcroft and Karp did, of doing the same thing for general graphs. And that's what our result was that Joseph alluded to for general graphs. But we need also some data structures for this, and I'll tell you what. Okay, so let's jump in because I have a lot of things to cover. But feel free to stop me because it's kind of built vertically up between today and tomorrow. So don't miss out on anything. Okay, so bipartite graphs, we have some number of, so all these vertices with holes in them are the unmatched vertices. And the dotted red edges are matched edges. The black solid edges are unmatched edges. And so there is still room for augmentation in this graph because there are unmatched vertices on both sides. And the thing to do is to define with respect to unmatched vertices on the u side, arbitrary, but let's say on the U side, the length of the shortest alternating path to any given vertex. Define that to be the level of the vertex, okay? And we'll do an alternating breadth first search to find levels. So for instance, these two guys will get level 0, and then their neighbors will get level 1, and so on. So the vertices on the U side will all get even levels, and the ones on the V side will all get odd levels, because like these zeros will label this with 1, with this with 2, this with 3, and so on. And the vertices on the U side are called outer. This is our very traditional definitions from half a century ago. And these are called inner. It'll be sort of justified, the choice of these names. So in a moment. So we are going to do an alternating breadth first search starting with these unmatched vertices on the U side. Okay? And they will be labeled 0. They are outer. And we look for unmatched edges incident at these vertices and label these guys 1. Right? They'll be on the V side. And then from those vertices, we just follow their matched neighbors, because we want alternating breadth first search. So, and then label these with level 2. And from here, look at all unmatched edges incident and label them as 3, and so on. Now, while we are doing this, two vertices, A and B, have both found this new vertex and labeled it 3. So these are both the predecessors of this vertex. So predecessor is the last edge on the path that gives it a level. And there could be many such last edges coming from many different vertices. So all of these are predecessors, and each vertex stores all its predecessors in order to find paths back, augmenting paths back. And we'll see that, how it works. And by the way, I'm saying all of this in detail because all of this will port to general graph and to the MV algorithm, which also finds shortest paths. So so it's better to pick up these few notions in this easy setting first. So then from here we look at matched neighbors. Is this edge present in the graph? No, because it gives rise to an odd cycle, so no such edge is present. Can this edge be present? Yes, there's no odd cycle, but this edge is useless, because why would we take this path when there's a shorter path going like this? So this edge can be thrown, but surprisingly enough, such an edge that goes from higher vertex to a lower vertex in the in the layered graph will be useful in the MV algorithm and causes some issues. Not issues that are unsurmountable, but require special treatment, such edges. Anyway, here we can throw this away and keep continuing, look for unmatched edges incident at level 4 vertices. And this time we happen to find unmatched vertices at the end of these edges. So we know that the length of the augmenting path is 5, and we just want a maximal set of length 5 edges. We know there are 3 augmenting paths here, if you disjoint augmenting paths, but we don't need to find 3 disjoint augmenting paths. What we do is we pick a vertex and keep taking, these edges can be ignored because we don't want longer than 5 length augmenting paths. So we start, let's clarify this. Which vertices are doing the work? So an inner vertex simply moves to the matched neighbor, and outer vertex looks at all unmatched edges. So this is an automatic operation. This is where I think work is being done. And so it's the outer vertices who are doing all the work, including finding the eventual unmatched vertex on the U side, V side, and indicating that there's an augmenting path, right? Okay, so we want to find augmenting paths now that we have reached unmatched vertices on the V side. So we pick one of these unmatched vertices and start following predecessors. This was the reason to mark predecessors. Or maybe we start with an arbitrary one, we find this path, right? Pick a predecessor, pick an arbitrary predecessor, and so on. We found this path. We'll augment along this path, we'll throw this path out, throw out all these vertices, so all these edges will go away because all those vertices on the path went away. Now there are some vertices which have no more predecessors left, like this. So throw away this vertex also, because its predecessor is already taken. right? If you come all the way to here, you cannot find an augmenting path. So you better remove it, and we'll remove all the way to here. Now we have a clean graph that looks like the first augmentation. So now we pick another unmatched vertex and keep finding predecessors, and we find maybe this path. So we found 2 paths, 3 were possible, but we don't care. This is a maximal set of disjoint minimum length augmenting paths. That's a phase, order m time, because every edge is examined once going forward, once going backwards, right? So really there's nothing to it. Forward search is, you just have to make sure you mark predecessors, find disjoint augmenting paths, erase judiciously so that when you go backwards from an unmatched vertex, you keep finding an augmenting path all the way back. You don't waste any work. Any questions? As you see, there are harder issues than matching in life. So we come to general graphs, okay? And we see the great algorithm of the great Edmonds, just to pick up some more ideas, which will all be useful. I'm only giving you ideas that are going to be useful in MV. Okay, so we search from one unmatched vertex each time here to find one augmenting path. An iteration is just finding one augmenting path, or come to a realization that whatever vertices you have searched so far will never be part of an augmenting path, so it can be thrown away from the graph and then go to the next unmatched vertex, okay? And each of these will be done in whatever, order m or whatever. Yeah. Okay, so we start from an unmatched vertex, and each time we, from, okay, let's say we found a search, we found these edges. From here, we search along an edge. Always search along, do an alternating search. So if you reach from here on an unmatched edge, you find a matched edge incident, go on an unmatched edge, and we found a matched edge, and so on. So now there are still unexplored edges on maybe all of these vertices. Of course, from here, we don't want to explore any other edge, because here we had to pick the matched neighbor. There cannot be more than one. But from these, and those, which are the outer vertices, which have even length paths, there could be more edges yet to be explored. So let's call this, say that a vertex is outer if in the explored graph, there's at least one even path from F to V. There could be odd paths also, but at least one even path. If there's one even path, then you're allowed to explore along all unmatched edges incident at that vertex. And unless you do all of that exploration, you're not done, right? And a vertex is outer if all the paths from F to V are odd, and that includes this, and this. Okay, and now we pick any outer vertex with unexplored edges, say this one, explore it, and if there's an inner vertex whose matched edge is not yet explored, we could explore that, and thereby we found one more outer vertex. And now, let's say we pick another outer vertex, say this one, and explore an edge on it. Okay, and it's the outer vertices that are again doing the work, like in the bipartite case. So suppose we found an edge going back. This is the first time we got an edge of a different kind, because it's closing a cycle. And if it were to hit here, then there's no problem. It could hit here and close an even cycle. But you can even ignore that edge, because no new search is called for because of that edge. But this is an edge that is very interesting and important, because it closes a blossom, and it makes these inner vertices outer, because now you can reach these inner vertices through even length paths. So these are even length paths. So these two inner vertices became outer. And so there's more search possible. And unless you do that more search, you cannot just abandon and say, oh, I found, that's the matching I found, because it won't be a maximum matching. So you have to explore from here. And that's the importance of this edge, and that's called a blossom. Okay? So a blossom is an odd alternating cycle with a stem and a base. And a stem goes all the way to the unmatched vertex. So this is the blossom, this is the base, and that's the stem. And so the stem is an even length path from F to the base, and there's an odd alternating cycle on the base. And because of the blossom, these inner vertices became outer. Okay? In fact, all vertices inside this blossom are outer. You can explore along from any of them along unmatched edges. That's the whole point. We have to. Now, Edmonds, so blossoms enhance search because they change inners to outers and help you explore more edges. And this notion of a blossom is not algorithmic, but it's graph theoretic because it depends on the order in which we explore edges. I'm going to show you a different definition of blossoms, which will be entirely graph theoretic. Not just, this one is algorithmic. But that comes tomorrow. Okay, so you mark this blossom into a doubly linked list because you don't know whether you'll escape this blossom from an inner, what was previously an inner vertex or an outer vertex. If outer, then you want to come back like this. If inner, then you want to go back like this. So you need to put a doubly linked list so that you can traverse this cycle in either direction eventually. And the big idea of Edmonds was to shrink this blossom into one macro node as if it's a node. It serves as an outer node, okay? And I'll say a lot more about that aspect. So Edmonds made this into one big node, okay? And all the edges that are incident at any of these 5 vertices will be incident at this. Think of this as just one vertex, and all the edges are incident at that. And you just keep exploring on this shrunk graph. And you found another edge incident at this macro node, and another edge, and you found another blossom because this is one node. So you got 1, 2, 3, an odd length cycle. So you shrink another blossom, and you got the doubly shrunk graph. That's the nesting of blossoms. And then you keep exploring from any outer vertex, and now you found an augmenting path because you have hit an unmatched vertex. So now you have an augmentation. And now you want to find the augmenting path in the original graph. In the shrunk graph, it's very easy because in the shrunk graph, after you shrunk all the macro nodes, you get a bipartite graph. And we know how to deal with bipartite graphs thanks to everything we did 7 minutes ago, right? So we can find this augmenting path. Boom, boom, boom. But then we want the path in the original graph, and that's not hard either because we recursively open the blossoms, starting with the outermost blossom. So we want the path from here to here in this yellow blossom, and that's easy because we can take 1, 2, 3 edge. Oh, sorry, 1, 2, 3, 4, okay? Those edges. This is still one node in this graph, G/B. And then we open that blossom and find this path. So recursively open blossoms from the outer to the inner until we find the entire path in the original graph. And what happened here, I should have put this later. So basically, this macro node, from the outside, it has the simplicity of an outer vertex. On the inside, it promises you an alternating path from every vertex back to the base of the blossom. And either going like this or like this. There are only 2 ways to traverse the alternating cycle. So everybody has seen this probably hundreds of times, but just to remind you in 5 minutes. Any questions, or we move on? Good. Okay. So macro nodes hide complexity. Because to the outside world, they have the simplicity of a node. And inside, they are happy to arrange the right kind of parity path, right parity path for you, whatever you want. Okay. So basically, the 3 tasks that we saw for bipartite graphs, again, are done here. There's a forward search, which must declare every outer vertex as outer, and which means if an inner vertex is really outer because of a blossom, you should find that blossom and declare it outer. If you don't do that, you missed out some opportunities of augmentation, and you will be incorrect at the end of the day. And you need to find augmenting paths by opening blossoms recursively outermost to inner to find the graphs, the paths in the original graph. And you have to erase judiciously, just like in the bipartite case. I will not go into that again. Okay, so same 3 tasks. Okay, so now we go to the main topic, which is the MV algorithm. Any questions or a breathing space, or just move on? Just move on. Okay, good. Yeah, that's what I expect here. So, okay. So again, in a phase, we want to find a maximal set of disjoint minimum length augmenting paths with respect to the current matching. And this time, from an unmatched vertex, you will have paths of 2 parities, both parities, even and odd, to the same vertex. And so we need to define 2 levels, even level of a vertex and an odd level. And the even level is the length of the shortest even length alternating path from any unmatched vertex to V. Whichever unmatched vertex gives it the shortest path. And infinity if there's no such path. Similarly, odd level. And just to find even and odd levels, which is the bare bone requirement to find augmenting paths, we need an alternating breadth first search, just like I showed you for bipartite graphs, plus something else. And that something else is double depth first search, which I'm going to show in this first talk and utilize in the second talk. And that's the new algorithmic idea that I really want people to see today, because in particular, I don't think it's been explored properly, its full potential. And many people need to see it and think about it before new things are going to come out. And it's sort of all been hidden for too long. So anyway, so as in the bipartite case, we will search simultaneously from all unmatched vertices, like we did, alternately looking into unmatched edges incident and matched edges incident and so on. And I'm just making this general statement that in the examples, I'll typically have only one unmatched vertex rather than many, just for simplicity. But think of many unmatched vertices. If there's only one, there's no augmentation to be had, right? If there are 2, then you might be able to find an augmenting path from one to the other. So in general graph, you're finding augmenting paths from one to the other. Both of them are at this lowest level. In a bipartite graph, you start from one end and find an augmenting path to the other end, which will be up there. But here, they are both here. You'll see how it works. Okay, so we start from this unmatched vertex. We look for all unmatched edges incident. Then we look for the matched edges incident. Then we look for all unmatched edges incident. We mark predecessors, like in bipartite. So its predecessor is this, its predecessor is this, its predecessor is this, and so on. And predecessors give min levels. So there are, okay, let me come to that. So vertices with finite even level are doing all the work, because here at this, with finite even level, you look at all unmatched edges. From a finite odd level, you just go to the matched neighbor. That's the, simple-minded thing to do. And from these guys, you find the matched edges incident to mark those 4, and then something strange happens. The 2 4s meet. And what are we supposed to do now? In Edmonds' language, we found a blossom, right? This odd alternating cycle. But of course, we had to do something more than what Edmonds did, because Edmonds was never bothered about the length of paths. And he could shrink it and lose all the length information. We cannot afford to lose any length information, because we want minimum length alternating paths. Okay, so the significance of this edge and the blossom is that this edge gives the second levels to these vertices. So we went 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So certain vertices, namely those in that blossom, the blossom is these 4 vertices. In Edmonds' case, the blossom included the base. In my case, the blossom does not include the base, and you'll see why. All of this will be justified as we roll along, especially into tomorrow. So that's the significance. And so vertices in blossoms have finite even and odd levels both. Okay? And won't shrink because we will lose length information. And now we can, because we have seen vertices with both kinds of levels, even and odd. So let's say that the min level is the smaller of the two levels for a vertex, and the max level is the bigger of the two levels. So for every vertex, we can define min level and max level. These guys, their max level is still infinity, unless there are more edges in the graph. If this is the whole graph, their max levels are infinity. But these guys have finite min level and max level. Okay? So that's the base of the blossom. And blossom, again, enhances search because it gives finite even levels to these two vertices. And remember, even level guys are doing the work. So if you come here with a 6-length path, you can explore along unmatched edges. If all you had is a 3-length path, you could not explore along an unmatched edge. And that unmatched edge could lead to an augmentation. So you better give this guy a level of 6, and then 7, and so on, if you want to find this augmenting path, without which you have a failed algorithm. Right? So that's the reason, that's the importance of giving the second level properly at the right time and doing search from these at the right time. And what is time here, I haven't defined yet, but it's all coming. Okay, so now I'm going to define the notion of tenacity of a vertex. So notice that there is a lollipop of length 9 here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, which contains these 4 vertices. And for these 4 vertices, so notice that the sum of their even and odd levels is exactly 9, which is the length of that lollipop. And I'm going to define that to be the tenacity of a vertex, even level plus odd level. For these guys, the tenacity is infinity because their max level is infinity. So, but for these 4 vertices which are in the blossom, their tenacity is 9. Very, very central concept, tenacity of a vertex. Here, what happens? These 4 vertices have tenacity 13 because there's a lollipop of this kind. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. For the purple vertices, the lollipop is bigger. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. I skipped an edge. I'm not cheating, okay. So, but if I'm cheating, let me know, okay. If I'm cheating, the whole thing is flawed, okay. So, okay. So these purple vertices have tenacity 15, and similarly, these yellow vertices have tenacity 17, even level plus odd level. Yeah, coming. And what's the tenacity of this vertex? Infinity. Yes?
Just making sure the odd level and even level never change afterwards. The first blossom
Yeah.
that we found will fix it.
Yeah, odd level and even level are about the smallest, shortest way of getting there. Once you found the shortest way, in case you found the shortest way first, then there's no need to change it.
And that's because we're using breadth first search.
But because we use breadth first search and double depth first search. Yeah, good point. Yeah, so we have to always, you have to find levels, smaller levels before bigger levels. That has to be the order of the day. Otherwise, gobbledygook will happen. Yeah. Good enough? Okay, so obviously we also have to define nesting of blossoms because there's a blossom here with green vertices and a blossom here with purple vertices and not the green vertices or yes, the green vertices. We have to make those decisions. And a blossom with yellow vertices and yes, the purple vertices, not the green vertices, or yes, both vertices. Okay, we'll come to that. Okay, so it has to be all done in a way that it all holds water at the end of the day, which is a lot of water in the end. So we'll see all of that. How many blossoms do you see here? In Edmonds terms, you might see one blossom nested inside a bigger blossom. In when you look at from shortest augmenting paths, all these vertices above B are of tenacity 15, and they're all part of one blossom. And this is not the base of any blossom. It also has tenacity 15 because it has even level of 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and an odd level of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 11 plus 4 is 15. So its tenacity is 15. It's not bigger. The base has a bigger tenacity. I'm just revealing something which I'll come and prove later. Like this base has tenacity infinity. It doesn't have has even level of 2, odd level of infinity. Am I going too fast? No. Yeah. Okay, good, awesome. So this is all one blossom. And I'm going to show you a bunch of blossoms before I come to the definition of blossoms. I'm not going to define blossoms today, but I'll show you double depth for search, which is supposed to find the blossoms. So these vertices are of tenacity 9, and the purple ones are of tenacity 11. So about the examples, you want me to go through and actually point out why it's 9 and 11, or by now it's obvious? Please raise your hand and I'll be more than happy to spend more time on the examples, anywhere. But if not, then I should move on because there's a lot of stuff coming. So yeah, you see that this is a tenacity 9 vertices, and these are tenacity 11 vertices. And by the definition I'm going to give, this blossom is nested in this blossom. Okay, and this may seem very isomorphic, or maybe not. I don't know. Depends on you. What do you think? But this blossom has, these four have tenacity 9, and these have tenacity 11. And in the definition I'll give, this is still nested in this because it's sitting on the same base. And we'll come to the formal definition, which makes it all work out. So these two are, in some sense, quite isomorphic situations. We don't need to create any isomorphism. I'm just saying that the definition will be such that the green blossom will be a sub-blossom of the bigger blossom, which contains green and purple both. You have a question? No? Okay. So there's a green blossom, and then there's a blossom contains purple and green both. And there's a green blossom and a blossom that contains purple and green both. And this is tenacity 7, and this is tenacity 13. Oh, sorry. Yeah, sorry, these green vertices are tenacity 7, and these are tenacity 13. And there are a myriad other situations. I mean, I'm just giving you a tip of the iceberg. But there should be definitions that cover all of that, and an algorithm that deals with all of these complexities. That's the point. And it should be simple. Okay. So here's a very, very basic question about shortest paths and breadth first search. When does breadth first search lead to finding shortest paths, all shortest paths? Okay. Like if you have an undirected graph and you have a layer 0 and you want to find shortest paths without weights on edges, what you'll do is a breadth first search from all of these, or from one node to all the other nodes, and keep labeling them, 4, 5, 6, 7, as you label them, you find shortest paths. So the point is, breadth first search will find shortest paths only if the shortest paths satisfy what I'm calling breadth first search honesty. And what is that? That is that if this P is the shortest path from F to V, and U sits on this path, then this part of the path from F to U better be a shortest path to U, okay? So in other words, if this is the shortest path from F to V and U sits on the path, then this part of the path better be a shortest path to U. There cannot be a shorter path to U. Okay, how could there ever be a shorter path to U? Because maybe the shortest path to U hits this part of the path and then comes here. Maybe? right? If so, you don't have breadth first honesty, because this part of that shortest path is not a shortest path. There's a shorter path that goes boom like that, okay? And the point is that, and that's what I said here, and the point is that in bipartite graphs, minimum length alternating paths are honest in this sense, and not so in non-bipartite graphs. So very fundamental thing that goes out of whack. And why does it go out of whack? Precisely because there are shortest paths of two different parity. And so let me show you an example to clarify this. So what's the odd level of this vertex U? It is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. What's the even level of V? It is infinity, right? Now, but suppose there were some more edges in the graph, like these. Then turns out that the even level of V is 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And on that path, where does U sit? Not at length 7, but at length 9. At length 9. So the path is not breadth first search honest, because on the F to V path, the F to U path is longer than its minimum odd level. It's length 9 and not 7. Right? And now in this graph, with these edges present, this guy still has even level of infinity. But if I add some more edges, namely these, then V prime also has an finite even level. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Now I'm reaching U with length 11. Its odd level was 7. Then we reached it with length 9. And now we are reaching with length 11 to come down to V prime. Right? And that's the path. That's the shortest path in this graph from F to V prime, even path. And U there sits on at length 11, even though its odd level is only 7. So can somebody summarize what is required here? Just to find even levels and odd levels of all vertices, what is needed to be done? You need to find longer and longer paths to intermediate vertices to find shortest paths to some other vertices. You need to find, first of all, you found a 7-length path, then you found an 11-length path, now you're finding 9-length path, and now you're finding an 11-length path. And soon enough, you might be finding a Hamiltonian path, just reaching into from F to U and solving an NP-hard problem, right? And this is not all fake, because this may be the only way to augment. This is not an academic exercise. This is needed. Otherwise, if you lose this, don't get this augmenting path, the algorithm is bogus, right? So that's the summary of the whole thing. We need to find longer and longer paths to U in order to find minimum alternating paths to other vertices. And so it should need exponential time, because sooner or later you'll be solving the Hamiltonian path problem, right? So how are we going to do all of this in linear time? Such a difficult question. Right? I mean, it's obvious that there is something quite magical that needs to be done to overcome such a basic hurdle. I mean, do you grant me that at least? Yeah? Okay, good. So let me show you what's the magic of matching that enables this to happen. Matching is full of beautiful structure. That's the bottom line. So what's the saving grace is this structure of minimum length alternating paths and blossoms. Okay, and the bottom line, of which the bottom of the bottom line will come tomorrow towards the end of tomorrow's talk, is that minimum length alternating paths cannot be arbitrarily dishonest. There's a lot of honesty there. Good enough? So, can anybody tell me whether there is an even length alternating path from F to V in this graph? Or there is none? Is the even level of V finite or infinite? In particular, this is the shortest even length alternating path from F to U, right? It has completely blocked off all paths to V. Because if you come around like this, you're self-intersecting. You already used this edge. But you could come around like this and find a path to V. And you have to find that path, otherwise the algorithm is bogus. So what are the blossoms? What is their nesting? All of that has to be ascertained. And I'll come back to this example later. How are we doing on time, Dr. Joseph? I've put my bag, oh yeah, okay, thanks. So we have another hour, right? Besides tomorrow's hour, we have another hour here. Okay. Half an hour.
We can take a short pause at some point.
Oh, this might be as good a time to take a pause as you want, because now very soon I'm going to start on double defer search, which I really want you to understand. It's really something else. Well, it's not something else, but if I don't make that clear, I've lost the game. This is already defined. Min level is the smaller of the two levels, and max level is the bigger of the two levels. Now, I'm going to classify edges into two categories. One is prop. So an edge UV is a prop. Is one endpoint is the predecessor of another. So a prop gives min level. If U is a predecessor of V, V is getting its min level from that edge. And any edge that's not a prop will be called a max level, will be called a bridge, and it typically assigns max levels, but not always. And we'll see that there are some bridges that don't assign any max levels, but so be it. So in this graph, this is a bridge, because both these endpoints get their min levels from these matched edges. And all the other edges are props. So all these other edges are props, and this is the unique bridge in this graph. And it assigns max levels, as you can see, because when you look from here, you give 5 here. When you look from here, you give 5 here, right? And what we need is a procedure that starts from the two endpoints of this bridge to find all the vertices that need to be given their max levels because of this bridge. And what do I mean by saying need to be given a max level because of this bridge will all become even more clear tomorrow. But let me just give you the procedure I have in mind in a very simple setting, okay? And what it needs to do is, starting from the two endpoints of the bridge, find this base where everything meets up. If you just follow predecessors, take all possible paths by following predecessors from here, you'll find this path. From here, you'll find this path. And the highest bottleneck is called the base, okay? And in this graph, there's this path, and this path, and this path, and this is not the highest bottleneck, because not all paths go through this, but they all go through this. In fact, they end here. So that's the base. It could have been longer. I could have put matched edge and unmatched edge and so on ad infinitum, but the point is, this is not the base, this is the base. So how do we find that base where all these paths do meet up? And what do I mean by paths meet up? Let me define that very precisely, okay? And here, I've put vertices on layers according to their min levels. And that inspires the next graph. Okay, and we need to find the blossom whose bridge is UV by finding the base. And if nested blossoms are encountered, we need to jump to their base. And I'll say what that means. And a bottleneck is a vertex through which all paths pass, and the base is the highest bottleneck. Now this graph has three bridges, 1, 2, 3. Okay, if we go from these two endpoints, following predecessors, they all meet here. If we go from these two endpoints, following predecessors, and skipping over previous blossoms, we find this to be the base. If we go from these two endpoints, we skip from here straight to here, and this is the base.
Could there be multiple highest bases, like highest?
Only one. And that's like a very central theorem. You'll see why. That is, okay, it's all coming. But it's a good question, obviously. Yeah?
It's not clear from what's your definition of bridge, like to the edges and like the end.
Why is it a bridge?
No, what is the exact definition of the bridge?
A bridge is any edge that is not a prop. A prop is any edge that assigns min level. So these edges assign min levels to vertices. This doesn't assign any min level. Its min level is assigned from here. Its min level from here. If it doesn't assign min level, it's a bridge. A bridge typically assigns max levels to some vertices, but not always. So there are some vacuous bridges, and we'll come to that also. Okay, so the base is the highest bottleneck, this, and this. So I'm going to show you this new graph search procedure called double depth search in a very simplified setting where the matched, unmatched, and all that just disappears, and some very essential information is kept. And the simplified setting is that of a layered graph. And so we have two vertices, A and B, red and blue, at the highest level. And every vertex, the property of this graph is that every vertex has a path to the lowest level. Every vertex, like this vertex, has a path to the lowest level. And the edges all go downwards, at least one level down, sometimes 2 levels down, sometimes any number of levels down, but never upwards or same level. That's the property of this layered graph. Okay? And in this layered graph, I want to do the following. I want to start following all paths from A down to the lowest level. And there could be a path like this, there could be a path like this, and from B to the lowest level like this. And I say that a vertex is a bottleneck if all paths from A to the lowest level and B to the lowest level meet up at that vertex. For instance, this is a bottleneck. All paths meet up at that vertex. This is also a bottleneck. The highest bottleneck is called the base. So the objective of this procedure is to find the base if it exists. If not, I'll say more what needs to be done. Okay? So we have these two special vertices, which are actually the endpoints of the bridge. And long edges are just skipping previous blossoms. And we are guaranteed that every vertex reaches the lowest level. And we want to find the highest bottleneck, which we call the base. In time, order of number of edges above the base. So below the base, whatever complexity there is, we don't want to see that. Once we encounter the base, we should know we are at the base. And we're not supposed to look underneath that. That's the strict requirement. Okay, so let me show you what double depth first search is. As the name indicates, there are two depth first search trees that are being grown with A and B as the roots. And the convention is that always red will will try to be one level lower, and blue will catch up. But sometimes blue may take a long edge and go below red, in which case red needs to catch up and then go even lower. So red always gets precedence, blue catches up, red gets precedence, blue catches up. These are depth first search trees. So we are marking parents and so on, and we can backtrack. So at this point, both of them have met up. Only one can take an edge out because we want disjoint red and blue trees. So this guy backs up to find another path as deep as this. Is there another edge? No. Back up. Is there another edge? Yes. Take it. Have I reached the level of red? No. Have I reached the level of red? Yes. Red, now you can go forward. Blue catches up. Blue has gone below red, so red catches up. They met again, and now it's always blue backtracks first to find something as deep as this, like it did here. It backtracked, that's, I mean, just a convention. Blue backtracks to find something as deep as the meeting point. Any other edge out of it? No, no, no. It has backtracked all the way to B. So everything has been explored. At this point, blue says, I better take this vertex over, and red, you find something as deep as this. And it puts a barrier here saying never backtrack beyond this, otherwise you'll lose out on time complexity. Remember, I had put down a time complexity requirement, which is number of edges above the base. So now red backtracks. Any edges out? No. Yes. And it takes the edge. Oh, now they're at the same level. So red goes, blue goes, red goes, blue goes. They met again. Blue backtracks. Any other edges out? No. Any other edges out? No. Do I need to backtrack more? No, because there's a barrier. Move the barrier here. Now you backtrack to find something as deep as this. Any edges out? No, 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 no. Once red backtracks all the way to A, we are done. That's the base. And the time needed is constant times the number of edges above, because each edge is moved, you move forward once and backtrack once. Okay, and we have two depth first search trees here, one red and one blue. And the color of a vertex is the same as the color of the outgoing edge. So this is a red vertex, this is a blue vertex, this is a blue vertex. And these blue and red vertices have the following property, that there's a path from the red root to every red vertex and to the base. So base has both colors for now, let's say. Or it's actually colorless because it will belong to another blossom. The base doesn't belong to the blossom itself. All these other vertices will be in the newly created blossom. So there's a path, a red path from A to each red vertex and to the base in the red tree. Similarly for blue. And if you tell me, hey, find me a path to this red vertex from A, all I have to do is go along this depth first search tree and find it. Or to this, go along this depth first search tree, find it. Right? I can find a path to each red vertex from the red root or to a blue vertex from the blue root. And there are two paths. Okay. So in the algorithm itself, there are three main ideas. One is this double depth first search, new search procedure. One is how to mark blossoms appropriately so paths can be found efficiently. And that's the reason I was spending so much time on this slide, that all these paths can be found, because eventually we may come out here and need to, we can either be going down to the base, depending on whether this is outer or inner, and I'm going to define all those things, or we may have to find a path like this using the bridge. If we have to find a path like this, then we jump to this guy and this guy, find a path from here to here and from here to the base. And those have to be disjoint. One has to be red, one has to be blue. Okay, so the blossoms have been marked with these red and blue trees in order to be able to carry out this thing all the way. And there's a prescribed synchronization of events, which is really a very hefty idea. It'll come tomorrow. It's an algorithmic idea that makes the whole thing work in the end. Okay, so here, there's a bridge here and there's a bridge here. Suppose we are doing double depth first search on this bridge. We are going down predecessors. Well, there's a path here, there's a path here, and there's a path here. Is there any bottleneck for this bridge? For this bridge, of course, there's a bottleneck. Namely, all these three are bottlenecks, and this is the highest bottleneck, this is the base. But for this bridge, is there any bottleneck? No, because this path and this path are completely disjoint. And in fact, there's an augmentation. Right? So we come to the second case where there is no bottleneck. If there's no bottleneck, we need to find two disjoint paths from A and B to the lowest layer, disjoint completely, all the way to the lowest layer. Okay, so I've now added these two edges, and I come to the picture where we did backtrack above this, and these two have met. Okay, and now it's blue's turn to backtrack to find something as deep as this. So it goes here, anything out? No. Anything out? Yes. And now they are at the same level, so sorry. They are at the same level, so red goes first, blue goes first. Oh, they both reached two different vertices at the lowest level. So now there's a red path from A all the way to the lowest level, and a blue path from B to the lowest level. And that indicates this augmenting path using the bridge AB. Why is this a minimum length augmenting path? We don't know yet. But that's what it will turn out to be. Okay? Okay, so yeah, we are going to be finishing before time, before the extended time at least. So for tomorrow, this is our plan. The central notion is that of tenacity. So far, I've only defined tenacity of vertices. I'll also define tenacity of edges. And that is what will give lots of properties of bridges, and it will help us define base, which will help us define blossom. And all these notions are graph theoretic. They are not algorithmic. That's the whole point. And graph theoretic notions are hard to prove, right? Because graph theory can be arbitrarily complicated because paths can go all over the place and become spaghetti. And that was my biggest problem here, how to clean out that spaghetti and make it disciplined. And double depth first search, which is the main algorithmic idea here in the algorithm, is also one of the biggest ideas in the proof. And how it is used in the proof, I'll say more about that tomorrow. And I'll also give a simple description of the proof, give the key ideas in the proof. Oh, sorry, simple description of the algorithm, which I have not stated yet. Give the key ideas in the proof. State what was the need for these graph theoretic definitions. Why couldn't it just be like any other, like Edmond's algorithm was entirely algorithmic. You make arbitrary choices, and no matter what choices you make, things work out. But you have to prove they work out, and you can. But why the heck did we have to go all the way to graph theoretic proofs and definitions? I'll make that, I'll justify that. I mean, I have to justify the 44 years of work, right? So, and of course, also tell you why the proof took so long. That's all tomorrow. I think I'm done with this, yeah. Okay, thank you.